Hey, folks, this episode of Paddle Talk is brought to you by RacingInTheDirt.com. Racing in the Dirt has parts, equipment, and apparel for all your off-road competition needs. Racing in the Dirt has just one mission, and that's to help all of their customers compete at their very best. With over 30 years of motorsports competition experience, they know what it takes to maintain that competitive edge, and they are equipped to keep you there. On-site welding and fabrication, incredible selection of parts, and experience and helpful staff as well. If you go to their website, racinginthedirt.com, you can shop for parts and custom built chassis as well. They sell quality brands such as Interco, Molinari, Reel, SCS gearboxes, Yukon gear and axle, RJS racing equipment, Moser engineering, Simpson, Stroud, Willwood, MSD ignition, AFCO, FTI, Good Vibrations Motorsports, and King Off-Road Racing Shocks. You can look at their axles and parts where Racing in the Dirt offers all of the Go Fast parts for any axle setup. Have you checked out their new Dana 30 Fab housing? Racing in the Dirt Pro D30 housing starting at $590. They're Racing in the Dirt tires, the DOT boggers, standard cut boggers, Magnum cut boggers, platinum cut boggers, DOT TSL swampers, the cut swampers, and they even cut your tires on site. Once again, over 30 years of experience doing this stuff, so you know you're getting good quality stuff from Racing in the Dirt. Also, Real Wheel dealers. They have a bunch of awesome real wheels from Real Racing Wheels. And they're Racing in the Dirt built chassis, whether you're looking for a full build, turnkey, ready to race, or simply a cage in your existing ride, or maybe a chassis that will be in the foundation of your newest race vehicle. Racing in the Dirt offers it all. You can also contact them about a consultation today. You can search for their products on their website. They have wheel adapters, hub kits, brake hat kits, brake and hub components, suspension parts, air filters, Racing in the Dirt knuckles, axles and parts, Racing in the Dirt chain drives and parts, limiter straps, parachute setups, side-by-side and UTV parts. So you can get in touch with them at 920-693-2000. Once again, that's 920-693-2000. And you can even email them at Scott, that's SCOTT, Scott at racinginthedirt.com. Once again, you can get a hold of them by calling them at 920-693-2000. 920-693-2000. You can also email them at Scott, SCOTT, at racinginthedirt.com. And then they are also open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And don't forget to check out their website, racinginthedirt.com. That is racinginthedirt.com. And don't forget the UPS Daily.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. It's episode 45 of the Paddle Talk podcast here on WSDN. With me, as always, Mr. Caleb Mings, our West Coast correspondent, and happy to have you all back for the podcast today. Caleb, how we doing?
Doing excellent, man.
Good deal. All right. Caleb just returning home from the SoCal Sand Drags event down at Lake Elsinore. So let's jump right into it. Little news we're going to start off with on this episode. And as all of our listeners and viewers are aware, the hurricane ripped through the southeastern part of our country. Two of our friends, Murray Powersports and South Georgia Motorsports Park, both affected by it in their community and themselves. Stepping up to the plate and doing what they can to support their communities around them. Both of them doing things. I know Murray Powersports is taking side-by-sides up into the mountains to try to get basic supplies to people that at this point are cut off from their hometowns, really, because you can't get a car down a road that doesn't exist, for lack of a better word. So,
Yeah.
Caleb, what is South Georgia Motorsports Park up to?
Well, from what I'm seeing on their Facebook page, it seems like they're really trying to head off with the relief effort. They're staging for a lot of the air traffic stuff, so they've got helicopters and planes. They're allowing people to stay at the grounds there, I believe, outside Georgia Motorsports Park. So it's kind of being an evacuation area there. And they're really heading up for getting the electrical grid back on. And just saw an update not too long ago here from the CEO of the Colquitt Electric Membership Corporation that they just got back on the final substation that was out. They had a record of 13 of the 29 substations there in Georgia that were affected. So obviously that, and he's saying here in his 28 years with the company, this has been the biggest outage as far as anything with the electrical grid. So just shows, how gnarly Hurricane Helene was, ripping through, Georgia, North Carolina as well. Just terrible for everybody that's been affected. But kudos to South Georgia Motorsports Park for allowing these guys to kind of stage there, get all the linemen to, be able to do their job and restore power to people that have been without it.
Absolutely, and yeah, Murray Powersports, same thing. I mean, great job by them. And I believe there are ways to donate on both of their Facebook pages. So we really encourage you folks, if you're able to, please think about it and make a donation that way. These people are right in the thick of it. They're in the trenches, in their own communities, and they are really the front line, so to speak, of trying to get their communities back up and running. For the people that, like it or not, probably work there or, work with them and that sort of thing. So prayers out to everybody affected down there. And as the cleanup from Hurricane Helene continues. So encourage everybody to check out both of their Facebook pages, or I believe you can find them at their own websites as well. So check that out and keep up to date on the progress and how things go. All right, so moving on to some other news. If you're involved in sand drag racing and you haven't been paying attention, you may not know there's a little hiccup going on at Skat Trak. And so currently, apparently, there are no tires coming out of the factory. Caleb Mings, is that pretty accurate from what you know
From
as well?
from what I've heard, that is the case. Trying to get in touch with them, it's there was no calls back. This is obviously something that's a very big disruptor as the sand drag world and mud, dirt drags, everything. We kind of rely on Skat Trak. It's really the only place that you can get any kind of uh, big car paddles from, and even for the ATV guys. I mean, we're constantly looking to get stuff from them. Uh, there's not a lot of whole molded paddle tires out there available for the applications the way that we're doing it. So you kind of need to get something where they're taking other cases and adhering those paddles on there. So this is bit troublesome, to say the least.
Quite. I mean, when one company for literally years has been the flagship for this, them even just taking a little couple week break for a breather really sends a ripple out there for what's going on. So yeah, that's a big story we're going to continue to follow. Hopefully things are up and running again here shortly. But yeah, from what some things we have heard and from some information we have gotten, looks like this is maybe possibly kind of a transitionary time frame for that company. So all the best to them. But this is definitely a developing story that we're going to be keeping our eyes on, because this could turn into something really, really big in short order.
Yeah, no, for sure. And all I could say is that, man, if you're looking for paddles, be prepared to spend quite a bit. So anybody who's got a new set of paddles out there, you've got your those tires worth their weight in gold right now.
Yeah, our associate Paul Moore had posted up, I believe it was last week, and he had maybe 14 sets or something like that. And I believe they sold out, if not 1 to 2 days, it was very quickly after that
Mm-hmm.
that he was literally posting. It seemed like an update every time I was back on of this set is gone, that set is gone, and all of a sudden it was down to I have one set left, and that was it. So they went pretty fast, and of course, that being said, we are coming up on Gilbert with the PSDA and everything. So a lot of guys looking for some new rubber to take down there with them, that sort of thing. But also just looking to the future that, hey, this tire may not be as readily available as it used to be. So kind of got to look to the future a little bit and say, hey, maybe, that new set, I was going to wait till spring. Maybe we're purchasing a little earlier.
Maybe that timeline moved up a little bit.
Right. So, like I said, WSDN, stay tuned to our Facebook page and again to future Paddle Talk episodes. And this is a developing story that we will stay on top of. So, the other news we have to break here is now Billy brought this up, so we had to do some investigating as well and everything else. But the Hayfield Shootout, which is an event I was at a couple weeks ago, has been confirmed as a go for 2025. Now, the date has not been set yet, but the event is going to happen. So Sean Boyd informed me earlier on this week that for sure, at least 2025, there is going to be an event. So looking forward already to that. Not going to lie. That was a great time and really looking forward to getting back up there. So as soon as we do have a date, we will let you know. But Hayfield Shootout confirmed for return for 2025 as well. And that's going to wrap up the news that you can use for WSDN on episode 45. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 45 of the Paddle Talk podcast. For our next segment, we are talking about the Tri-County Four-Wheelers race coming up this weekend in Lisbon, Ohio. With me, as always, producer Billy Teeters, Mr. John Sorg, all the way from Holland, Michigan, Dave Applegate from somewhere in the Southeast tonight, and we have a group of Tri-County Four-Wheeler members. Hey, guys, if you want to introduce yourselves, that'd be great. We don't need to talk about Matt Peters. We just want to talk about people on camera. So let's start with that.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Kelly Waters.
I am Jeff Waters from Latonia, Ohio.
Chad Krug from Beloit, Ohio.
Dave Luton from Lisbon, Ohio.
Fantastic. And you all are Tri-County members, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, hey, let's get right to it. All right. So race coming up October 11 and 12 up at the Tri-County Four-Wheelers place in Lisbon. Let's start with Friday. What do we come to expect for Friday night at the race?
Friday night we're gonna start off with our index racing. We just on some index racing, break the cars down in different classes. 4/10 is the breakdown between each class. And we just started doing this, and a lot of us are starting to enjoy that index racing where it makes a pretty tight run down the track. And but that's what we're going to start off with Friday night is the index race, and then probably first round of qualifying for the 295 cars.
Okay. And your quickest index for Friday night is a 280. Am I correct on that?
You are correct.
John Sword, can you go to the 280 index and try to leg it out, or are you going to try to sandbag in the 4.0?
Oh, it's a tough decision, but I'm a sandbag it in 4.0.
I only say that, folks, because John Sorg is going to be on site that weekend. Correct there, Johnny?
Yes, sir. I will be there and running indexing too. Not only will we be covering, but running some indexes.
Sweet. How many hours from Holland, Michigan is it to the Lisbon area?
Approximately 6.5. So not terrible.
Ooh, not too bad, though. That
Not
sounds
terrible,
pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tri-County folks, what's the slowest index then for Friday night?
6.60 and slower.
6.0 and slower. So literally, it doesn't matter what you have, a 295 car or a bone stock non-LS powered pickup, you can run Friday night and probably have a chance to do pretty well, I'm assuming.
Usually always the slow cars that do the best.
That's true. That's very true. Dave Applegate, you're going to be on site as well that weekend. What's your Friday night looking like?
So yeah, Friday night I'm going to leave early Thursday morning and head that way. It's going to be somewhere between 12 and 13 hours for me to get there. So a little bit of a drive, but it'll be well worth it. Very excited about Friday. If we want to jump into that, so about 2 years ago, we have a guy that is actually our stock side-by-side world record holder right now, Hunter Javin. And Hunter needs a heart transplant. And so with that, we 2 years ago started a benefit race. And we've now changed it to Team Hunter instead of Hunter Javin race. But still in all, as you guys know, the Southern Powersports Series got rained out here last weekend at Little Sandy. So got a hold of Chris and the guys there, and they were more than welcome to let me work with them and bring the Team Hunter benefit race to Lisbon at Tri-County Four-Wheelers. And I am excited about it. These guys have went out of their way to make sure that this can happen. So they have got a special guest up there that's going to be there. Name's not been out yet, but very excited about that. But I will be getting an index as well. Depending on how the car goes, we'll see which index class I get in, but I've not been there. Very excited about going there. And I hope that while I'm there, we can kind of do a little talking off to the side and maybe get SPRS to have an event there next year. So, but yeah, definitely excited to going up there. We'll get into the benefit race here a little bit later once we get through some of this other stuff. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I think me and John may end up being in the same index class. So,
ooh,
Oh, I know.
I owe John one. I don't know, man. It's gonna be
He
tough.
owes me one. But I might have to hold off till 2025, brother. Times are hard.
So yeah, that's what we got, Isaac. I will be heading up Thursday, about 12, 13-hour drive, give or take. And be there Thursday night, early Friday morning, and meet all the guys and the ladies. And man, I'm just going to enjoy it, have a great time, and see a new track. Very excited for it.
Fantastic, man. Friday night sounds like a really good time. Great way to start off the weekend. All right, Tri-County folks, what's going to happen then on Saturday? Take us through kind of the schedule and what you're looking for to have happen on Saturday then.
Saturday morning, the plan is with our drag chairman. His first plan is to run the kids first thing Saturday morning. I think he was planning on around 8 o'clock to get the kids done. However, sometimes we have a decent amount, sometimes we don't. But I wanted to do the kids first and then roll right into the bracket cars, for doing dial-ins and practice runs. Start in with the second round of the 295. And I'm not positive how many rounds he was playing. I think 3 rounds or something like that. But then, like I said, the cars do the bracket cars, and then we get everybody broke up into their classes. I'm just not positive everything he had in mind. Did he tell you anything, Chad?
No, that's about it.
One big class.
Yeah,
one big class.
One big class
For the money.
for the big money. So,
all right. Hey, can we back up to the kids though? If I remember correctly, is your kids' classes it's like a $5 entry fee or something like that?
Like $2.
$2.
$2.
And if I remember correctly, we found a sponsor for that last time, right?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. So there you go. All right. Who was it last time? Does anybody remember from our group?
Josh Newman Motorsports.
That's it. Josh Newman Powersports, isn't it?
Powersports, yes.
Yes. Okay. So not saying Josh has got to do it again, but if somebody out there would like to come on with Josh or in place of Josh or whatever, we at WSDN would love to see the junior $2 class get sponsored out by somebody, cover those kids' entry fee, make them feel like, hey, man, I got a sponsor for the weekend. And I just think that'd be really cool. Throwing it out there. Maybe we'll do some talking off air too and see what we can come up with. So that sounds really good. All right. So let's talk about this big money class. Yes, Dave Applegate.
I tell you what, I like your idea. SPWS will throw in $100 towards kids.
There we go. There we go. So that
There
being
we
said,
go.
all right, folks, I don't know what day you're going to be watching this. We'll say Wednesday or Thursday. But if you're a junior, there is no reason not to go to this race because 50 of you are going to get your entry fee paid. I mean,
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
So that would be fantastic if on the next podcast, after the race, we would have to report that there was like a 75 junior class. That would be fantastic. So, and hey, with the race not coming up for a couple weeks, you adults, mom and dad, you got plenty of time to get this on the calendar and get over there. So, all right. So let's move away from the kids back to our big money bracket. Now, let's expand on that there, Tri-County folks. What are we talking here? So one big class, what's our entry fee? What's our expected payout? Kind of walk us through that a little bit.
You want to start on that, dear?
I believe it's a
The 100,
$100 entry fee. First 100 car minimum, and first place payout would be $5,000. Second place is
3 or 4.
$3,000 or $4,000.
I think it's 5, 3, and 2.
5,
Okay.
3, and 2. First, second, and third. 5,000 for first, 3,000 for second, and
2,000.
2,000 third place.
Okay. Now, I'm just going to ask this, and Billy might already start to cringe, but I'm throwing it out there anyway. So we're going to pay first, second, and third. Are we going to race off? Say we have a full 4-car field at the semifinal time. Are we racing off the 2 guys that don't make it to the finals for third? Or are we calling whoever loses to the guy that wins the big money? Are we calling him the third place person?
That's a race director question.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our
I
race
think-
director, Chris, is not here. But we are playing down to 4th place, $500 4th place.
Okay. So we don't necessarily have to, well, you still could race those 2 guys off to figure out who's getting 500 and who's
True.
not. I mean,
And that's something that could be discussed at the drivers' meeting, which, but that is a race chairman, which, so.
gotcha. No, that sounds good. So, Hunter, any buybacks if you happen to have a misstep in the first round?
Yeah.
After the first round, 1 buyback, $10.
$10 seems extremely reasonable to me.
$10, you get the buyback after first round. After that, your second elimination, you're done.
Sure. Seems reasonable.
So I got
Yeah.
a question. On the buybacks, do the buybacks run each other out?
No, we usually always throw them right back in. Years ago,
Okay.
we used the buybacks run only, but yeah.
No, I understand that. Yeah, it's usually way easier just to do it that way.
Throw them
Hey,
in
I'm-
and start again.
Yeah.
Johnny,
No,
so
I'm
are you having to pack an extra $10 then, or are you confident enough you're not going to need it?
No,
You
I
know,
got it. I got it for him. I've already got it. I'm gonna when I get up there, as soon as I see John, I'm gonna hand him $10. Say, here you go, buddy. I got you covered, man. It's all good.
I think he's got my back.
We keep
Actually-
$10 in the
KW gave it to me to give to him. You know what I mean? So
Oh, nice.
yeah,
John,
a little
I
bit of an
can't believe you're
inside
gonna
joke
take-
there, Tri-County, but yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
John, I can't believe you're going to have to take $10 from a bike guy to make sure you stay in there. That
Hey man, times are hard. You got to do what you got to do sometimes. Racing's racing. You sit on the couch, or you can be in the action.
All right, so Tri-County folks, this sounds really good. I'm sure this does not go off without a ton of volunteers. Is that I'm assuming that is correct. Tell us a little more about Tri-County four-wheelers a second, and kind of, hey, what's your membership look like? How long you guys been around? Give us some background here.
Dave.
Well, they were actually chartered in October of 1963. So we've been around since 1963. Actually, before there was any kind of off-road racing on the East Coast. It was just a club of campers and off-roaders that started.
First actual event was,
First actual event was in 1965. And it was on a member's father's property in Pennsylvania, about 15 miles from where we are now. That from there, we went to our club president's property, which was about 4 miles from where we were presently. We were there for 2 years. And at our present location, we've been there since 1969.
Wow. So without boiling it too far down, y'all been racing for almost 50 years is what it boils down to in one spot or another. That is phenomenal.
60,
that is
61
unreal.
years. 61 years.
This year is our 60th anniversary race.
yeah.
Wow. Unbelievable. That is awesome.
There's been a lot of changes down there at the club, you know, but it's been around. So I was running around there since 78.
Well, I've got a quick question for him. What's your best memory from, you've been there since you said 78 there? What's the best memory you can think of?
68.
Honestly, I mean, I like the drags. I'm a hill climb guy. We do have a hill climb down there, and I love running the hill. But, you know, back in 78, you know, the biggest motor, we had a guy named Terry Shook. He had a V6 with a blower on it.
Iron Horse.
Iron Horse. I mean, that stuck out back then, you know, things like that. You know, when you're that young, anything that sounded that loud, made that kind of noise, you stopped and turned your head and you watched it. But every event down there's always one car that just sticks out amongst everybody. So there's a lot of memorable moments down there. But I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the flat drags.
Good deal.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was going to bring that up. And nice segue there, Dave. So you all don't have just flat drags. You got hill climb. You also have obstacle course too, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, we got a creek that runs down through there, and they do a lot of twisting and turning up the hills and stuff and through the creek, you know, things like that.
That's awesome, man. That is phenomenally cool. So, what kind of numbers are we looking at for membership out of the Tri-County Club?
Right now, we have approximately 78 family members.
That's really good. That's really good.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
Do you guys have a fair amount of like second generation members then as well?
Oh yeah.
We have even some fourth generation.
Yeah.
Really?
Nice.
Wow. That's impressive. I gotta say, that is really impressive. Very cool. All right. So John Soar, Dave, any other questions you have for the Tri-County group?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, this is the oldest operating facility for sand drags in the country right now. I'm unless somebody can prove me wrong.
No, it is.
That's really neat. That's a lot to be proud of right there.
Yes. Yeah. And facility wise, tell us a little bit about what you have there, you know, restrooms, concessions, a little bit about that. What can people expect if they come visit and either join in the races or just come and watch and bring their family?
A lot of people come in there and camp, of course, you know, a lot of our members do the same, but we usually have out and set up by the clubhouse. Porta johns are everywhere. We do have water down there on the grounds. It's not necessarily you can't really drink it, but it's not going to hurt you. But there is water down there for your campers, things like that. But other than that, it's pretty much primitive camping. You know, the road goes all the way back to your campground, and there's, you know, just pull off to the sides but other than that, it's
hotel 2 miles away.
Yeah, and there is a hotel 2 miles away from there.
Oh, nice.
No problem for most people.
So I'm still learning everyone's name, but Chad is the one with the beard, right?
Yep.
All right, Chad, when you're there, is there any memory you have, or is there anything, you know, what do you do at the track as a member to, you know, to help out?
I do just about everything. I'm the chairman of the hill climb, but then, you know, except for a short exit this year with a race Jeep, I've been helping with the drags and, you know, watering the track and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, you name it, I've done it down there, so.
We do have good members that
Good
work
deal.
on together and help each other, because it's a lot of work putting on drags all day long.
Yeah,
Yeah,
is.
it is.
You're a third
For sure. One thing, folks, now just want to make sure everybody knows out there. I'm assuming, looking at the flyer, this is a non-ATV event, correct?
Uh,
No. He did make the comment that they forgot to put a four-wheeler on the ad, so yes, this is, you know, four-wheelers are welcome, because even on our bracket races, if it's got four wheels, we run it. You know, safety is an issue, but if it's got four wheels, we run them down there. We've had snowmobiles, you know, it's, our bracket
yeah.
races are pretty fun.
we do it at our
Excellent.
track. It's nothing unusual for us.
Yep. What's
Our guys
what's the
love it.
track composition like?
What's that, sir?
What's the track composition like?
Sand, dirt, few rocks. We knifed it. We did bring up some rocks. We've been slowly trying to get them picked out, but it's a sand dirt mixture. If we get our moisture and our water right, we can get a nice hard pack. You know, you'll dig it down, spike it deep there at the start of the drags, run it out 80 foot and slowly come up a little bit. But it's a sand dirt mixture. If we get the mixture right, we get some guys who really like their 60 foots, you know, one lane's always faster than the other, just because the way the sun, the way if the weather holds out, the way the sun hits and the shade hits, we get a little different than but we've
Oh,
always,
you shouldn't have said that. Now John's going to be picking that lane. Take on it. Now it's over.
I'm going to be going to him. He's my track specialist.
Well, they usually, you can dial in on both sides.
Yeah.
You can dial on a hillside, you can dial on a tower side.
yeah.
Oh yeah. So I've got a friend of mine that's coming up. Name's Joe Sargent. He's bringing a side by side as well, like me. And he also has a lay down bike that he would like to bring. Is that welcome?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with our chairman's not here, but I don't have a problem with it.
Good.
No,
Yeah, it's a 390 4.0 lay down. It's nothing crazy fast for a lay down. You know what I mean?
nothing
It's just
crazy fast. I think that's pretty good going down the track. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think we won't have a problem with anything. Just, you know, if it can run down I tried on a street bike one time down there, and you know that was out of control. But
Oh man.
well,
I bet.
you know, Isaac, I don't mean to take your wind out of your sail here, and I hope I'm not asking a question that you already had in your back pocket. I do have a question I think might bring up some interesting comments here. What's your guys' track ET record?
And here we go.
304 by Dennis Darling. I can't give you the 304 with a point. I can't give you that, but I know it was a 304.
Nice. Nice.
And there's a bounty up for that.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and you have to back it up. You got to back
So
it up.
Billy Teeters is bringing his mini bike then?
Billy Teeters should be bringing his mini bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, he should be, because he'll probably wipe that 304 out of it. I mean, it'll be gone. It'll be over from there.
I'm
What's,
gonna be fucking the mini bike.
What's our backup percentage on that?
Within a tenth.
Within a tenth.
Within a tenth. Oh man. All right. That is whoo. Well,
Yeah.
There's some Michigan guys that that should be some news for. So yeah. So, and if any of you out there are looking to what kind of shutdown do you have? Maybe we should also talk about that before we get too far down this road.
You got what?
That's irrelevant.
1,200, I thought, to be exact. If you get out at the finish line to the last turnout, it's like 1,200 feet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Sorg, we're not fair racing, okay? Irrelevant
Oh, I
is
know,
not a
right?
term on this.
It's straight, but I'm gonna remind you, there is a creek that runs down the left side of the drag strip. So,
And no guardrail.
and there's no guardrail.
So if it's hot out, turn left.
You don't wanna turn left. You wanna make it right at my big motorhome. And actually, where the last turnout is, if you do per se have a problem, where the last turnout is, if you stay to the left a little bit, you still got another 200 feet, I think.
Nice.
Wait, about another 400 feet.
With grass.
It's all grass, but we do disc and keep it all loose all the way down to the last turnout.
Nice.
Okay,
Nice.
great.
I appreciate that there's attention paid to the shutdown area as well. So a lot of times people kind of forget down towards the end there, and things can get a little dicey. So, all right. So WSDN guys, any last questions for our Tri-County friends before we let them have the last word? Yes, Dave.
Yeah, I've got one, Matt. I was talking to Chris there a little bit, and he was not quite sure. He wasn't positive, but do you know what's the quickest side-by-side that's been there? And the reason I mention that is because that's kind of where I fall in the game with sand drags and dirt drags, is the side-by-side area. And there's a lot of fast guys. I know a couple guys have asked me about it. So you guys get a lot of side-by-sides? Can you tell us a little bit about that? And if you happen to know, maybe what's the quickest side-by-side that's been down the racetrack?
You got a guy out of Warren that comes down, and I can't think of his name. And he's quick. He's
390s.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he smokes me. So
Yeah,
I think Dave has something
Mostly
for
a lot
that.
of our quads are the dinosaur side by side stuff like that. We don't get a lot of fast ones. We get the guy that brings it in from trail riding.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We did have
Yeah,
we had guys that showed up that were 390s.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Well, I'm excited for it.
It'd be great
You know,
if
when we say trail riding, whether it's a dirt bike, a quad, or a side by side, or whatever track it is, even a full size vehicle, a regular pick 'em up truck or whatever, that's what we need, guys, to build the sport and get those guys to join in and say, "Hey, man, I had a blast. I'm gonna call Jegs. I'm gonna call Summit. I'm gonna call Whalen, Evo, whoever, you know, and get mine to go faster." And that's what it's about. The more that we bring those, you know, those factory or stock style vehicles in, my opinion, it helps the sport.
Yeah.
well, that's what
Absolutely.
we're trying to do with this big bracket race. We're trying to grow the sport in our area, as well as like your guys'. We've been to your guys' tracks and we've run, and you know that's what we're trying to do here is get car counts up and draw the people in.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely for sure.
John, do you have anything else? Because there's one person that hasn't said a whole lot, and she is sitting right over there to the right. What do you do there? Talk to us, girl. What do you do?
I just get in the truck and race it.
You just get
Perfect.
so you drive then.
Yeah, she's been around the sport. Yeah, since the early 90s.
Okay. All right. Now
That's great.
what's the quickest ET you've gotten so far?
The truck just out in Indiana, a couple of weeks ago, ran a 406. And I had to get out of it.
Woo.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, we were just out of Brookville for the outlaw race there. Really had a good time.
That me too. That was fun.
Yeah. It was fun to watch the competitors out there, some of the cars, you know, but that was fun seeing our truck to do a 406 for the first time on that track.
We were having some issues with the fuel and
John, we're in trouble. If we jump into 40 index, man, she's gonna put it on us, bub.
I know. I'm a little concerned now you're talking about that.
Yeah.
I promise you, you're gonna be scratching your head at the end of the track.
That won't be the first time.
Well, Isaac, what do you think, buddy? You got anything else?
I don't. Tri-County folks, we'll give you the last word. Give us your last big sales pitch for this race, and yeah.
How about it, Chad?
Man,
Throw it out there.
I don't know what to say. You know,
Yeah, I mean, we're really excited for this. It's new. I mean, a lot of us have run these circuits. We've been around. We just want to try something different to bring her, you know, because we've got our normal cars and we've got some decent fast cars, but you know, like I said, we went out to Brookfield. My wife and I enjoyed seeing them big cars, and it's awesome to watch. And that's what people want to see, something that just really scoots down the track. I mean, they're used to seeing all of us pretty decent cars, and we're having fun and just, but honestly, we're excited for this, and fingers crossed the weather's good. We just want to bring the car count. We want other people to try our track, see what they think. You know, they can tell us what they think. We'll take anything in, but we're excited for this to do this and enjoy this and get a lot of other people come in, you know, and that's all we really want to see is some nice cars, and people want to see the fast stuff.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, nothing wrong with that. I hope you guys do really well. Hope there's a big car count. And before we go, hey, shout out to Matt Peters for kind of pulling this together, getting us together with you guys and getting you on tonight. It's great. We haven't seen Matt much. Yeah, little blurbs in there here and there, but you know, he's kind of like that at the track too, right? He's kind of the behind the scenes guy. You see him taking some pictures and video and that, but we really appreciate him, and yeah, we really appreciate you guys being on tonight. And hey, you know what? October 11 and 12 coming up, Lisbon, Ohio, big money bracket race, some index racing on Friday night. It's going to be the place to be. So we'll see you there.
Hey, folks, this episode of Paddle Talk is brought to you by RacingInTheDirt.com. Racing in the Dirt has parts, equipment, and apparel for all your off-road competition needs. Racing in the Dirt has just one mission, and that's to help all of their customers compete at their very best. With over 30 years of motorsports competition experience, they know what it takes to maintain that competitive edge, and they are equipped to keep you there. On-site welding and fabrication, incredible selection of parts, and experience and helpful staff as well. If you go to their website, RacingInTheDirt.com, you can shop for parts and custom-built chassis as well. They sell quality brands such as Interco, Molinari, Reel, SCS gearboxes, Yukon gear and axle, RJS racing equipment, Moser Engineering, Simpson, Stroud, Willwood, MSD Ignition, AFCO, FTI, Good Vibrations Motorsports, and King Off-Road Racing Shocks. You can look at their axles and parts, where Racing in the Dirt offers all of the Go Fast parts for any axle setup. Have you checked out their new Dana 30 Fab housing? Racing in the Dirt Pro D30 housing starting at $590. Their Racing in the Dirt tires, the DOT boggers, standard cut boggers, Magnum cut boggers, platinum cut boggers, DOT TSL swampers, the cut swampers, and they even cut your tires on site. Once again, over 30 years of experience doing this stuff, so you know you're getting good quality stuff from Racing in the Dirt. Also, Real Wheel dealers. They have a bunch of awesome real wheels from Real Racing Wheels. And they're Racing in the Dirt built chassis, whether you're looking for a full build, turnkey, ready to race, or simply a cage in your existing ride, or maybe a chassis that will be in the foundation of your newest race vehicle. Racing in the Dirt offers it all. You can also contact them about a consultation today. You can search for their products on their website. They have wheel adapters, hub kits, brake hat kits, brake and hub components, suspension parts, air filters, Racing in the Dirt knuckles, axles and parts, Racing in the Dirt chain drives and parts, limiter straps, parachute setups, side-by-side and UTV parts. So you can get in touch with them at 920-693-2000. Once again, that's 920-693-2000. And you can even email them at Scott, that's SCOTT, Scott at RacingInTheDirt.com. Once again, you can get a hold of them by calling them at 920-693-2000. 920-693-2000. You can also email them at Scott, SCOTT, at RacingInTheDirt.com. And then they are also open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And don't forget to check out their website, RacingInTheDirt.com. That is RacingInTheDirt.com. And don't forget the UPS Daily.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to episode 45 of the Paddle Talk podcast, where we talk about all things sand and dirt drag racing. And we're going to talk about an event that's coming up at our home track, Silverback Off-Road Speedway, located in Mears, Michigan. With me, as always, producer Billy Teeters and John Sorg, our resident Silverback Off-Road Speedway, point series champ? I mean, can we go that direction?
Yeah, we'll take that one. Thank you.
I think so. Congratulations, by the way, since I know the banquet was last weekend. So, yeah, that is awesome. So let's talk about it. This is the R3 Fall Fury, if I have my information correct from the sounds of it.
R3 Fall Fury, it says run what you brung, open to all. October 5th. Silverback Off-Road Speedway.
So we've got some short course action for the UTVs, and then we've got some quick 16s and some bracket race. Johnny, what's the details on this stuff?
Yeah, it's all kind of broken up throughout the day, and I don't know exactly how they do it, but they start with an open test and tune like in the morning, then they move to a UTV short course race. Then they qualify for your quick 16, diesel quick 16, UTV quick 16, and open bracket. And then I think it goes into competition.
Okay. So in theory, depending on what you bring, you could run one of the quick 16s and run the open bracket.
You could, yes. If depending on these quick 16s, yes. Yes, you could. Because, I don't see why you couldn't double enter.
Okay. Does it give any kind of pricing or anything on the info there?
Well, I'm looking here and it's saying $1,500 in payouts per class, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, let me read this to you. It says, come hang with us for our first ever R3 event. This will be a family-friendly event open to all vehicles. Come run any vehicle down the track, whether you're enjoying the show, racing down the track, or ripping the UTV short course race. There's something for everyone. Don't forget to stick around and have a few drinks and hang out by the bonfire.
There we go. I like it. Sounds good. Sounds like some really good payouts for the classes as well.
Really good payouts. Those guys have been to their events before. They always have a good time, sell merchandise. They've always got things going on for everybody. Not to mention it's free. So, I mean, you got nothing to lose. You go in there, you don't like it, you leave. If you like it, you stay, and it don't cost you anything. So,
hey, that's even better. If you're looking for something to do this weekend. Absolutely. Weather sounds like it's going to be decent, so that could be a really nice family event out there. Fantastic.
I mean, let's just face it, for October to have 70, 75 degrees is just an amazing weather phenomenon that we will have here in Michigan. So that's
absolutely awesome. Absolutely. And for those of you that don't know out there, R3 stands for Race, Rebuild, Repeat. You can find those guys have a pretty decent, I believe, YouTube channel and blog as well. So if you're looking for more details, possibly you could pick them up there. Otherwise, the Silverback Off-Road Speedway Facebook page, I know, has more details on it as well. So I saw some guys asking some questions there today. So if you're interested, make sure you check out both of those places. Maybe try to pick up a little more info. So, all right. Hey, sounds like a really good race. Yeah, sounds very family friendly. So if you're looking for something to do, that is October 5, Silverback Off-Road Speedway in Mears, Michigan. So breaking news, John Sorg has an addition to our R3 Fall Fury coverage. Johnny, what do you got?
If I'm not mistaken, and I don't see it on this particular thing that I read, and of course it's small and I can't read that well. Friday, test and tune 5 to 11.
Oh, open test and tune Friday night. All right. So hey,
anything, everything, just like is stated, can run test and tune, just as stated.
Hey, so that being said, if you've got something you're looking to make a couple hits on or something like that, open test and tune Friday night and even open test and tune on Saturday morning. No excuse not to get a couple laps underneath your belt is what we're saying there. So, all right. So that is going to close the book on our preview for the R3 Fall Fury. Hey everyone, welcome back. Next segment of episode 45 of the Paddle Talk podcast. Joining me is Billy Teeters, our producer and showrunner, as well as Damian Bowers, and we are talking about the Texas Mud Drag Race coming up in Brookville, Indiana. That's coming up October 11 and 12. Damian Bowers, this is shaping up to be quite the heads-up racing weekend there in Brookville. Fresh off the Outlaw Series finale a couple weeks ago, and now we're moving on to this. Let's dive right into it. You're going to race in one of the classes. What's going on that weekend?
Well, that weekend they've got obviously their three main classes. Their open door slammer, which you're looking at the baddest door cars in dirt, mud, and sand right now that are actually out there running. You have Hysteria, Smoking Gun, Line Time. The Jason Benson's bringing his Jeep. It's who's around here right now. There's a few in Michigan I would love to see come and make the trip, but you never know, especially like Earl Etner, who knows how bad his engine's hurt after that blow up at the Pro Truck Nationals.
Yeah, also true. Possibly our friend Casey Lawyer might make an appearance there. So tell you
Very
what,
possible.
that could be a heck of a class, and we've already seen a call out in that class. The Hysteria Colorado of Jason Vanderwall taking on the Smoking Gun truck of Rick George. First round call out. That's a final round pair some places.
Very possible. Rick George, obviously, Smoking Gun, brand new this year, racing in the dirt car, has won multiple modified cut class events in the MRA. Not just the Outlaw Pro Stocks, but against rail cars that are designed to handle a lot more power. The engine's closer to where they want it. The cars are balanced a lot more evenly, a lot easier to go fast with. Hysteria, big Pro Charge Holthoff, high performance engine. And he's got data down at Brookville. Brookville's I'm not going to say it's a real unique track for these guys because most mud racing, fast tracks, real similar, real tacky clay. But Brookville's a little bit narrower than some of the tracks they've ran at this season.
Yeah, that, we talked about a couple weeks ago, even at the Outlaw Series finale, data could turn into a huge thing for this track. We see other series not allowing testing even close to tracks they're going to run at because they don't want people to have an unfair advantage. So that could end up playing pretty big into there, and that should be a great pair in that open door slammer class. So can't wait to see it. What other class are we looking at?
Next, their biggest class usually for trucks, and you're looking at their big block class. You got stock engine location. Must be stock frame rail front to back. They're allowed to 4-link it. They're allowed cut tires, naturally aspirated big blocks, 3,600 pound minimum weight. So these are heavyweight trucks, cut tires, really tight class. You see a lot of the MRA super stocks, the older ones that are not modified frame lengths and such. Jason Hoskins is leading the points in that with Your Nightmare, a badass BES powered truck. And there's a lot of trucks coming from Texas, Missouri. I've heard a lot of people are coming from West Virginia and Virginia even for this class because that's a hotbed for old super stock. Same with down in Kentucky. So there's a few call outs in that class. I'd have to pull up the page right now. I believe I've got it up. Yes, right here. The latest one is a red step side called Abracadabra, taking on a newer truck, a GMC OBS. So it looks to be black and green called Darwin. I don't know where either of those trucks are off the top of my head. Then you also have Hickabilly and the Bully. Hickabilly, more of a 70s era C10 step side, going up against a newer square body Chevy step side. The Bully I have seen run in Texas in videos. Very strong running truck. Let's see any others. that I'm seeing. Not right off the top of my head am I seeing other call outs at the moment. Oh, there we go. The Boogeyman. Big, long, 44-inch bogger truck out of Mississippi. And your problem, a green stepside currently out of Texas, used to be out of North Carolina with the previous owner. The guy who owned it before made a bet with Hoskins years ago at his home track down at Little Dew Mud Bog in North Carolina. Got beat, and from what I've heard, he spent a lot of money to finally outrun Jason before he ended up selling that truck. And that truck is a strong, strong runner.
You know, can I just say, from a personal standpoint, I love when guys have trucks with names attached to it like that. That is fantastic. Yeah. I love it. It harkens back to old school drag racing, and really enjoy it when we get to see stuff like that. But that is a heck of a class. I believe J.R. Chandler and that kind of palm olive green Ford stepside even maybe making an appearance there. So should be really good. And like you said, that is usually a huge class. Looking forward to some really good racing out of that. All right. So, and I believe we're going to wrap up with the class that you are possibly running in. And that is what?
Well, first, there's three more classes yet.
Okay.
The last points paying class, I am not running in. I have no chance in this class. This is four-wheel mod. Four-wheel mod must be a door car body, 3,000-pound minimum weight, cut tires, NA. Those are the rules, period. So any size motor, I believe the guy who won it previously out of Wyoming has a little black and green Ford Ranger with a 700-plus cubic inch Hemi.
Yes. Yep.
So this is a really neat class. We're trying to convince Anthony Ball to put some cut boggers on the back of his truck. Way that thing's been running, he's been dipping into the very low 360s, coming closer and closer to the end of this year. He might even dip into a low 3 or into a high 350, depending on how the weather holds out for this coming weekend here in Brookville, because we do have the final points race of the season coming up here too. So you'll see some guys trying some stuff out possibly for next weekend.
Okay.
But that class, it's always a fun one to watch. More of the tamer stuff, but along those lines, it's still fast trucks. The class I'm in, I've heard some controversy about it as well.
All right. So that is what, a small block power adder class?
Yes. And to help the class out, I was asked about a week and a half ago, what's my opinion on it? They wanted to know if I would care about running against two-wheel drives. I told them the way I've seen it, and we did this at Gravelrama finally, we let the two-wheel drives in class run against the four-wheel drives. My opinion, at that weight, it doesn't matter. It's no performance gain to run in two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive unless your car is specifically built to run one way or the other. But you're looking at, obviously, my Jeep, we're going to be spraying that little 6-liter hard and heavy really quickly because in 200 feet, I got to get after it, especially with the lack of Nick DeBoer, or however you want to say that name. His little blue and black Jeep CJ7 called Try Hard, a pro-charged 408 combination LS. So he's got a lot of power on me, but he has to add a little bit of weight. I know that Jeep's a real light runner, so he's got to put some weight on it. Then we have Steve Vogel, his twin turbo Cat Eye with the off-road fenders coming down with a two-wheel drive. Twin turbo LS. I know it's been quick, but you put something that's untested on clay and two-wheel drive, that thing's bound to just turn left or right out of the hole.
Also true.
Trent Sampson's going to be trying to run his big old square body. He's a heavyweight. His torque converter is not exactly built to handle a lot of spray. He has been down in the 450s, so you never know. He might be able to cut a light and sneak off with a couple of round wins on some people. White Trash out of Missouri, Brandon Hooper. He won the Missouri race. Unfortunately, it was only 3 cars. It was him, Doug, and I can't remember the other Ruther who was driving the Bronco, but they had their Jeep Wrangler with a nitrous 6-liter with multiple kits on it. Couldn't keep the front end down. And then they had their turbo mod motor Bronco out there as well. but Brandon Hooper was able to beat both of them with a nitrous injected 6-liter with some upgraded pistons. Thing was running into the low 3-second territory in 300 feet. And then currently, the last two confirmed, Blake Cole is confirmed with the Trump truck, but currently they are having some driveline issues. They do not know if they will have it back together. And then lastly, we have probably one of the highest winding Fords other than Wayne Gunther's. We have the Zimmerman-powered Copperhead Ford Bronco. A few years ago, he brought this thing to Gravel-Rama and XD class, claiming it was making 900 horse at 302 cubic inch before nitrous. I don't know if he's going to be spraying it or not, but he ran within a tenth of Jim Rodas when he could keep the front end going straight.
Yeah, that Ford is very impressive, and I tell you what, that sounds like it's shaping up to be a pretty heck of a class, and those are only the people we know of are coming. Let's face it, we all know there are people that show up that nobody knew was coming and show up on a pretty regular basis at some of this stuff, so should be an excellent turnout.
Few rumored names I've heard Upchurch talk about possibly bringing his Blazer out for the class, just trying to show his muscle with that all-motor combination that he won A-class with at Gravel when he takes the weight off of it. I've heard rumor Ryan Wilson, Darren Smith might be working on something now that two-wheel drive's allowed, because Darren's Jeep is right in that weight ballpark, but right now it's got a big block in it. And then one, I've reached out to him. I don't know if he's going to come or not. And if he brings it, he's got to keep it on the ground to win the class, but he's got the horsepower to do it, is Mike Page.
Also true. Yeah, I don't know how much testing Mike's been able to do this summer with the Blazer. I know he's primarily had the buggy out, but could be a very interesting development as well. So,
yep. And then the last heads up class they have normally is their small block NA class, usually around a 3,000 pound minimum weight, small blocks, cut tires, just like 4-wheel mod, but for small blocks. They've opened that up to a 3,200 pound minimum weight, any naturally aspirated engine, any chassis configuration, any tire, but it's still got to look like a truck or Jeep. And then obviously to end out the night, they still have Franklin County's open bracket. Who knows how many people's going to enter that, especially at 200 feet. You're going to see some weird changes in people's driving style, because just as the car is starting to settle down, we're at the point we're having to lift.
Yeah, absolutely. That could be a major difference as well. Trying to bracket race at 200 foot when you're used to that extra 100 could get really interesting. So, all right. Well, hey, sounds like a great class. Sounds like a great event. And I'm thinking it's shaping up to be pretty well attended. If the weather holds, could be another epic weekend down in Brookville here coming up October 11 and 12.
Hell yeah. I am definitely looking forward to it. Pray that the hurricane don't come back up north this time. And I got to say to all our friends in North Carolina, Georgia, and everywhere where all these issues are happening, stay safe, be careful. Hopefully you guys don't get much more water, because you're already having landslides and floods and all this. So hopefully everything turns out all right.
Absolutely. So, all right. So that wraps up our early preview of the Texas Mud Drags event at Brookville, Indiana. Hey everyone, welcome back. Our next segment in episode 45 of the Paddle Talk podcast is going to be a recap of the SoCal Sand Drag Association event at the Lake Elsinore Motorsports Park, sponsored by Greg Tungett Motorsports. Caleb Mings, I hope I said that correctly. If not, please feel free to correct me. With me as always, producer and showrunner Billy Teeters and special West Coast correspondent Caleb Mings in the house. Was on site all weekend, not racing, but doing a fantastic job for coverage. And I must say, sir, it was fantastic. I appreciated the piece on the, what was it? What's the train horns?
Oh yeah, the tactical train horns.
Tactical train horns. That's right. I wanted to say ballistic, but I'm like, no, I know that's not the word that was used. Oh, it was great.
No, that was definitely pretty cool. We've had a couple different vendors out there with stuff like that before, so love seeing some cool, unique stuff like that.
Absolutely. So, hey, man, let's dive right in because there was racing already on Friday. Let's move in. What were we looking at? And let's talk about who was doing well and who wasn't.
Yeah. So let's get into it. So yeah, got there a little bit late on Friday, so I missed some of the racing action. You did get all the names correct, Isaac. So kudos to you on that. Uh, I did miss the Friday for the first class they ran, which was the 395 Index. Your boy Jeff Adamson, he doesn't go out quite as often as the other Adamsons, but he took first over Tim Gilmore there. So some pretty big regulars in the 395 Index, duking it out there. We went into, they had 2 rounds of qualifying. I ended up missing the first round, but they ran a little bit behind. Mr. Jimmy DePass decided to make a quick little trip in the center of the lane through the timing block. So they're running a little bit behind. Caught the second qualifier. Was really cool to see a lot of new cars, a lot of returning cars, as we've talked about, the return of heavy metal, cars that hadn't been out in a bit, different combinations that we're working through. Pretty solid top eliminator field, ended up being 12 cars. But as qualifying ended, they were getting into the Pro Gambler for Friday night. Good old Race America struck again, and the timing system went down. So the crew with SoCal Sandrags did a phenomenal job catching up on Sunday. They had to cut, on Saturday, they had to cut some of the test and tune a little bit short. So a lot of classes only got 1 pass, but tons of great racing action. Let's kick it off with that Friday Pro Gambler. They ran it basically at the conclusion of the sport classes, and that Friday Pro Gambler, Mr. Jeff Adamson, doubling up there, took the win over Charlie Johnson.
Oh, hey, and I have a feeling we're going to talk about those 2 guys maybe again here before too long.
We will. They're definitely heavy hitters in the West Coast scene. They did not see any success, though, in the sportsman classes. So Sport 1, we saw Joseph Weaver taking the win over John Simmons. Love the John Simmons going postal Jeep. We actually saw him on display out at the Sand Sports Super Show, which I didn't even realize until after the show. So pretty cool to see them out there repping the sport. And then Sport 2, Lily Garcia. She's moved up into the adult brackets in the last year or two, and she got the win over Jared Fauché. Jared's got an ex-Kenny Hayes motor, believe it or not, in his Jeep now. So just a little something Kenny had stashed in the back of the shop, and Jared's been doing pretty good with it. Moving on, Saturday they had the Dooner Shootout. We talked a little bit about that class, kind of being those bigger full-size vehicles, full suspension, really something you can actually go take in the dunes. And we had the Johnsons taking first and second there, with Wes getting the win over Charlie.
Oh man. I'm sure Charlie never heard another word about that all weekend.
Oh, I'm sure he didn't. Want to also give a special shout out. So that class, they give some extra bonus money to best reaction time and closest to your dial-in during elimination. So the best reaction time goes to Justin Adamson, and actually closest to dial was a tie between our first and second place. Charlie and Wes Johnson both tied for that. So they split the pot on that.
Wow. Awesome. And those are 3 names that are not unfamiliar to anybody racing on the West Coast when it comes to Jeeps, especially. So great job by all 3 of those guys. And the Adamson family, we're not even like to the Sunday bracket, and we've already chalked 3 of them up to getting on the podium there. So looks like they came ready to get some stuff done.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, they've had a very dominant weekend. Speaking of this, let's get into the Saturday Pro Gambler. So we end up running 2 of those gamblers. So lots of opportunity to win some money on Saturday. And the Saturday Pro Gambler went to Braden Root. And I believe this is Braden's first time, or very few times he's been out to SoCal. He's one of the points leaders right now, I believe, at Dome Valley. He actually was there with a new Jeep to him. It's an ex Alex Garcia Tata Racing Jeep out there from the Yuma area. And second place, Justin Adamson there. So he getting a little bit of that gambler money.
Woo, man, on a roll.
Absolutely. Moving into Sunday's program, they kicked it off with the kids' classes. So junior dragster, believe it or not, here we got our third generation of Adamsons. Reed Adamson out there with the little junior Jeep, first time racing it.
Nice.
And gets first place in the junior dragster category over Adelaide Cronin, which Adelaide, unfortunately, she had a bye run getting into that final round where she took a tumble at the end of the track. Thankfully, Adelaide's okay. We shared a little post from Safety Dave, Motorsports Safety Solutions, where kind of saw at the top end tumble there, but Adelaide's doing great. Like she's all her safety gear worked perfectly. Just a little shook up from that. Obviously, kids are not really wanting to go for that tumble, and it was just an unfortunate thing for her. So, but
yep,
that gave Reed the legal single in the final.
Sure, and that's a matchup of third generation racers right there too.
Yeah,
I mean that's pretty awesome, right?
Absolutely. So moving into the junior ATVs. So again, that's the only place where we got the ATV classes currently. Bella Hills, I believe she's a pretty relatively new racer there. I don't know if this was her first race, but she took the win over Mason Welsh in the juniors ATV category. And then in Pee-wees, we saw Jeremiah Bethlehem taking the win over Nathan Gilmore. So we're talking about multi-generational racers there. Let's move over into the pro classes. So 3 different pro classes. Pro Tree winning some money in the trophy over here on the West Coast. Pro 1 is a 310 to 375 bracket. We saw Chris Wells in his buggy rail, whatever we call it on any given weekend, over Danny West in that ex Keith Ahart Sudden Urge dragster.
Yes.
Pro 2, 376 to a 425. We saw Wes Johnson take the win over Chris Wells. Chris pulling double duty in the buggy in both Pro 1 and Pro 2. He was looking for that double up there, didn't quite get it. Wes was able to take him out there in that Whipple Sand Jeep. And then Pro 3, we saw Chris Adamson in a different vehicle than he's normally in. He wasn't in the Bounty Hunter Jeep. He was in, and I'm blanking on the guy's name, but it's a T-Bucket Roadster out there. Very cool and unique machine. And I believe it was Chris's first time driving that car. He took the win over Chris Wells in his Dune Jeep. So, man, Chris was set up for the triple up there. And unfortunately, Wes Johnson and Chris Adamson, took that away from him there. But definitely a good weekend for Chris Wells, obviously.
Chris Wells obviously been hitting the pro tree practice tree pretty hard to go to 3 finals in 3 very different classes. So shout out, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, and a big shout out I want to say is like this was definitely a very well attended event too. So all those classes they were pretty deep. So it wasn't a single round that was really a freebie there for any of the competitors. So definitely kudos to Chris for making it to all 3 of those finals. Let's go into, I'm going to save top eliminator for the last, because I think that was probably one of the coolest little storylines there. So top alcohol. We saw, unfortunately, Jim Hammond having some parts breakages, wasn't able to make Sunday's call. We did also see that Hayfield dragster with Mikey Vickroy bowing out. Cool old thing with him, he was making some test hits. He says he's taken that thing and he's going to actually campaign it on asphalt as well. He came a little unprepared to the sand. He was running hooker paddles on that thing. So lots of wheel spin for him. But I mean, he said, man, it was great. They normally have to really, tear through the transmission. The clutch pack in that has to be taken out every single pass when they run it on asphalt. They made 4 rounds in the sand, and they said they were loving it. It's a lot easier on parts. So
nice.
For any of our listeners out there that are, asphalt guys that maybe have some roots in the sand or whatever, or friends that do it, that's, consideration. Bring your car out, a little bit different setup, of course, but much easier on parts due to that 300-foot racing distance.
Absolutely.
So with a lot of people bowing out there, we actually had both of the Pro Mod Jeeps with Mr. Jimmy DePass and Bobby Cottrell running in the top alcohol division. And we actually saw Jimmy DePass taking the win over Bobby. They both ran 273s in that final. I believe Jimmy had a little bit on the ET, and I think he treed Bobby just a tad in the final. Could be wrong on the tree there, but man, it was a very close final round there with those Jeeps. Then going to the actual Pro Mod class where they normally campaign, Bobby Cottrell took the win over Aaron Smith. So Aaron making some decent laps there, some pretty wild ones too. I know a lot of the short cars, they're fighting the track. You know, there was some hard spots developing in the surface that they were kind of hidden, you know, and those short cars, they don't like that very much when they get unsettled.
No, I believe I saw a picture of Mr. Cottrell almost possibly on one wheel, and that wheel being the left rear from the weekend, and that looked like a very interesting moment, shall we say, for him as well. So,
oh, definitely, and even Jimmy, he got up and bicycled it pretty hard in the semifinal there in Pro Mod Unlimited against Aaron Smith. You guys can actually check out SoCal Sandregs' Instagram page. They've got a post up where you could see Jimmy's pretty wild ride there. Lots of wild rides. So kudos to all the drivers for keeping it shiny side up. A Fuel, a little bit smaller class this time out. We saw Greg Johnson in the InXS buggy taking the win over Sally Rasmussen. Kind of a funky final there. Sally kind of got on the two-step a little early, and so it looked like Greg took a little bit longer to pull it into the stage beams. At that point, Sally backed off the two-step, and then I swear, as soon as he rolled in, that tree just instantly got triggered. So both of them were not up on the boost at all. So it was just a very funky final there for the A-Fuel class. But Greg Johnson getting the win over Sally Rasmussen. All right, top eliminator. 295 index. This is where we saw a lot of cool cars coming out. We've gotten storylines with a lot of different ones. A couple of our coverage sponsors racing in that class. The whole Triple Threat Racing crew. We saw Tommy Zavala and the Blown Looney Dragster, that new Hemi combo, and of course Eric Hickey with their PSI Blown small block. Both we saw him and Tommy testing out Dome a few weeks prior to this event, and everything worked really well for both of them. Tommy Zavala ended up being the #1 qualifier to 296.1, and did really well until he ended up meeting Eric in, I believe, the quarterfinals, where his trans brake button malfunctioned. So he was dead on the starting line. That's why, if any of you guys were seeing that pass, it was kind of weird. He just stood there on the starting line, and Eric went down the track. And yeah, so that's what ended up happening with that. Of course, we had Mr. Billy Morris in the heavy metal buggy out there. Those guys went 281 off the trailer, showing everyone that world record was definitely not a fluke. They went several 280 passes before slowing it down, got it into that top eliminator field, and they ended up meeting Eric Hickey in the final for top eliminator. This was an amazing race. Eric Hickey went 2.950, dead on the index, and actually treed Billy. Both of them didn't have super great lights, but got a little bit off the starting lane for Billy, and forced the breakout on Billy as well. He went 291 in that final of the heavy metal buggy. So super cool for Eric. 2.950. He hit that at Dome Valley in Test and Tune, and again out here. We also saw another 295. I'm not gonna forget about them. Tristan Graham finally got the whiskey business buggy figured out a little bit, and they went 2.950 in eliminations as well.
Yeah, some amazing storylines there. We go back to the heavy metal buggy. You've got what do we say now? 11 years, 12 years between time frame.
I think somewhere around there. Yeah, I think it was 2007 or 8 was the last time that car was campaigned. So it's been a minute since it's been out of the track.
Absolutely. So, and really a brand new crew. You've got, I believe the last time the car was out, Rick was still in the seat. We had Dan Chittenden turning the wrenches on that thing. And to come back out that much time later, and you bring Eddie Knox, now tuning the screws on it, you put Billy in the seat, and they obviously didn't miss a beat as 281 off the trailer. Beyond impressive. Great to see those guys back out. Really great ambassadors for our sport, and just great to have them back on site. Yeah, Tommy Zavala, though, man, taking that car and showing the field. They are there for a reason, going 296 for your number one qualifier. And then we seem to see this again, the small blocks finding a way to get to the final. Eric Hickey, who might have talked a little bit that, you know, hey, they were going to do something there with that car. And sure enough, shows up in the final, gets himself there. I mean, great racing all the way around. I think there were a decent amount of personal bests even over that weekend. So
definitely. And we almost saw, don't want to fail to mention this, almost saw a brand new double B buggy record with Mr. Jordan Quintal on the Cubic Bucks buggy. He went 324 in that car. Personal best for him. Unfortunately, out there in first round, was not able to back it up, ended up losing it to Greg Johnson. And it looked like he might have hurt the motor too. Hopefully not. I saw some smoke coming. So, you know, sometimes with those turbos, just a little oil gets in there and it can look bad. But yeah, so I know he's definitely going to be back out. He's gonna be wanting to get that record there.
That's awesome. You know, I mean, love to see guys chasing after records that maybe, to be honest, maybe we don't talk about a ton, but still major accomplishments in our sport. So congratulations to those guys knocking on the door. Unfortunately, they're going to have to wait till 2025 to chase that a little more, but maybe that'll be the time they need. So, all right. So fantastic coverage. Besides maybe something outside the storylines we've talked about, Caleb, what's one thing maybe that was on the back burner that people need to know out there?
I mean, I think just everything that the crew has done to improve this last event. They tried the new sprinkler system out there that I think really helped out. I think everybody had a fantastic weekend, and can't really quite say just yet, but there's some big things coming for 2025 for SoCal Sandrex.
Fantastic. And, you know, hey, 2025 got some really interesting storylines coming. You know, can, you know, the Cottrells find that mojo again and lay down another 40-something, you know, pass there? We'll see the return of Nicholas Schultzman, whose motor obviously is powering Mr. Tommy Zavala's dragster now. And Nick says he's coming back and looking for his record back as well. Should be awesome. And will we see the return of Mario Tavares possibly? I mean, 2025 shaping up to be really good. And I tell you what, great to see Sandrags doing well in SoCal. You know, I think that's good for the sport and good for SoCal as well.
Absolutely.
All right. So that's going to wrap our coverage from the season-ending SoCal Sandrags event at the Lake Elsinore Motorsports Park, sponsored by Greg Tungett Motorsports.
Hey, folks, this episode of Paddle Talk is brought to you by RacingInTheDirt.com. Racing in the Dirt has parts, equipment, and apparel for all your off-road competition needs. Racing in the Dirt has just one mission, and that's to help all of their customers compete at their very best. With over 30 years of motorsports competition experience, they know what it takes to maintain that competitive edge, and they are equipped to keep you there. On-site welding and fabrication, incredible selection of parts, and experience and helpful staff as well. If you go to their website, RacingInTheDirt.com, you can shop for parts and custom-built chassis as well. They sell quality brands such as Interco, Molinari, Reel, SCS gearboxes, Yukon gear and axle, RJS racing equipment, Moser Engineering, Simpson, Stroud, Willwood, MSD Ignition, AFCO, FTI, Good Vibrations Motorsports, and King Off-Road Racing Shocks. You can look at their axles and parts, where Racing in the Dirt offers all of the Go Fast parts for any axle setup. Have you checked out their new Dana 30 Fab housing? Racing in the Dirt Pro D30 housing starting at $590. They're Racing in the Dirt tires, the DOT boggers, standard cut boggers, magnum cut boggers, platinum cut boggers, DOT TSL swampers, the cut swampers, and they even cut your tires on site. Once again, over 30 years of experience doing this stuff, so you know you're getting good quality stuff from Racing in the Dirt. Also, Real Wheel dealers. They have a bunch of awesome real wheels from Real Racing Wheels. And they're Racing in the Dirt built chassis, whether you're looking for a full build, turnkey, ready to race, or simply a cage in your existing ride, or maybe a chassis that will be in the foundation of your newest race vehicle. Racing in the Dirt offers it all. You can also contact them about a consultation today. You can search for their products on their website. They have wheel adapters, hub kits, brake hat kits, brake and hub components, suspension parts, air filters, Racing in the Dirt knuckles, axles and parts, Racing in the Dirt chain drives and parts, limiter straps, parachute setups, side-by-side and UTV parts. So you can get in touch with them at 920-693-2000. Once again, that's 920-693-2000. And you can even email them at Scott, that's SCOTT, Scott at racinginthedirt.com. Once again, you can get a hold of them by calling them at 920-693-2000. 920-693-2000. You can also email them at Scott, SCOTT, at racinginthedirt.com. And then they are also open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And don't forget to check out their website, racinginthedirt.com. That is racinginthedirt.com. And don't forget the UPS Daily.
Hey, folks, welcome to our next segment on episode 45 of the Paddle Talk podcast. In this segment, we are going back to look at results from the 2024 Show Me Fall Nationals at Thunder Valley. So, Billy Teeters, you and I are the only ones left. Let's talk. What do we have for results from the weekend?
Well, this weekend started off rough. We had some rain from the week before and earlier in the week that caused the track to not be able to be ready to run at all Friday. So we didn't run anything on Friday. So we just had people hanging out and whatnot. I actually ended up not even leaving my house until probably 6:30 at night, 6:30 in the evening on Friday night to go to the track. Yeah. And I got off work. I called Jeff Sig. I was like, hey, I'm going to load up. I'm going to head that way. Just let you know. And he was like, he said, don't rush. So I didn't rush after that. So, but yeah, then we woke up Saturday, hopeful that the track would be better. Because I honestly didn't know what the track condition was like until Friday. They were like, oh, it's bad. We're going to have to cancel the day. So I'm like, what are we talking about? So I got there Saturday. And the right lane was just atrocious. It was just and I feel bad for some people, and I'll get to that in just a second before we get into these results. But I do want to give a shout out to the track staff. Like Jeff did do his best to try to get that track ready. Stacy Sig as well, Rusty Payne. Give a big shout out to Randy Kimbley who came up. He was going to do some racing with us, but I'll explain that here in a second. Shout out to Josh Hibden bringing his skid loader down to do what he could to try to scrape some of the mud off the top to try to get down to the drier stuff on the bottom. But that right lane was just so saturated from the week of, a few days of rain it had a few days prior, and it was pretty bad. And so we got the left lane manageable enough to where we'll do some test and tune. And so basically anything ATV or like junior dragster ish wise just went down the left lane. The right lane was strictly for like the UTVs. And the left lane did it. We did have a few cars there as well. We top preliminary field wasn't what I would liked it to be, but it's all good. So yeah, we did the test and tune thing for a while, sending bikes and cars down the left. So I was running the staging lanes, and I wanted to see how much better the right lane was getting, and it just wasn't. And I sent and I feel so bad for Chase McLaughlin. He drives a junior dragster with a snowmobile engine. Checked with his grandpa. Him and his grandson talked for a little bit, and then Dennis gave me the okay to send him down the right lane just to see what it would do. And that thing bucked him around in that junior dragster. He ended up breaking his radiator on that pass also. And yeah, feel super bad about that. And then I wanted to test it again because the sun was on it at that time. So I wanted to test it again. And Seth Curtis, shout out to Seth, brave dude. Runs like 4.0s. Very high 390s on his drag bike. He was like, I'll try it. And he went down that right lane and he made it down it. Not smooth, but he made it down it. He ran like a 420 something, 422, something like that. Yeah, he ran a couple tenths off what he's usually used to. And so we ran test and tune, like I said, fast bikes and stuff in the left lane. We sent just strictly side by sides down the right lane. And I will say, we had an unusual. We had an unusually great turnout of side by sides at this race. It was really cool to see, and I'll explain that here in a little bit. So we ended up what our whole schedule was just like 50-50 classes on Friday with test and tune, top eliminator qualifying. Saturday we do kids classes, Pro 1, Pro 2 ATV, Pro Comp, Sport ATV. We had all these classes. And then we ended up saying, all right, we're going to run 3 classes. We're going to do the 50-50 cars, 50-50 ATVs, and we're going to do our side-by-side class. Jeff deemed that the track wasn't safe enough for top preliminary cars to go down because it was pretty muddy. I ain't gonna lie, it was pretty muddy. And so we didn't run time trials until I don't know, maybe like we started that test and tune we did test and tune for like 5 to 7. We started time trials maybe like 7:30, something like that, maybe a little later. And then we started racing around like 8:30, something like that. But we ended up not running the ATV class because when the sun went down, the moisture came up and it made the right lane even worse than it was before. So we could not race the ATVs. Maybe we could have gotten away with test and tune with them in the left lane, but even the left lane was starting to get some of that moisture back in it. That made it unsafe. So it was okay for cars and side by sides. And when I say cars, I mean like not junior dragsters. Like so, but like I said, we had an unusually big turnout, which is great, of the side by sides. And because in the side by side class, we ended up having 15 of them. 15 in the side by side class, which usually in that class we get like 6 or 3, 4. So like the fact that we got 15 was awesome. And we did allow 2 mini buggies to run in the side by side class, but that was whoever's call to do that. But they all agreed with it, so it was all good. And then they also agreed to let the dragsters that were in the. So there was one dragster that was Jason Bird, which is the former Shirley Muldowney top fuel chassis. Kenny Capel had his buggy, V8 powered buggy, and Craig McNeil was running his CBR 600, 900 powered mini buggy, and then Tommy Springer from Tennessee came in the race with us as well. He had a ZX 14 powered mini buggy as well. and they raced in the car class, and they all agreed to let those guys run down the left lane when it came to racing time, unless they had to
Sure.
race against each other for whatever reason. And in the semifinals of the cars class, we ran into that in the semifinals where Tommy Springer was in the left lane, but Kenny Capel was in the right lane. Before that, though, I should say, Kenny Capel's first pass of the weekend when we started time trials, in the left lane, he ran the fastest pass ever in that buggy since he's owned it.
Whoa.
Ran 358 off the trailer. And that's pretty moving on motor, no nitrous assistance, so that's pretty good. And but he had to go in the right lane in the semifinals against Tommy Springer, and he made the pass. He ended up losing to Tommy Springer, but he ended up getting stuck in the shutdown area because of the mud. It all caked.
no.
It all he got it almost caked up underneath him to where it high centered him, and he was just stuck. Yeah. So we had to get Jeff's F350 down there to pull him out, and then once he was pulled out, we could keep going. Yeah, but these side by sides were really cool to see, though. The side by side class, most of those side by sides also jumped in the car class as well, so we had pretty good turnout in all the classes that we got to run. But in these results here, in the 50-50 cars class, first place was Tommy Springer. Second place was Kennedy Hartzell, was one of those side by sides.
Nice.
It was really cool because she was the first time sand drag racer, I believe. They usually do like the short course racing and stuff like that with those things.
Okay.
They had a little boy named Nolan out there. He had his own little tiny side by side that the engine was actually set sideways in, and the transmission case was I don't know how to explain it. The engine was set in sideways, but the axle was still the same. So I don't understand it. But it was really cool to see that. Everything about it was custom made. The dad told me that. And then in our side by side class, the two mini buggies that got allowed to run in the class, they ended up getting to the finals. Tommy Springer and Craig McNeil. They decided to split, and we actually did something kind of fun with them. They both made a pass down the left lane side by side each other.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was pretty close. They were closer than most people are used to, but it was still pretty cool to see, and it made for a good time. And something else I forgot to mention here, because people were bored. Whenever you're just at a track and you're hoping that it'll dry, you get bored, and people just like want to do something besides just sit around. And so I called over the PA and I said, let's have a wheelie contest. And I had some kids come up, sign in. It was a $5 entry fee, 100% payback. We had a few kids sign up for it. I believe we had 4 of them sign up, but Brody Hibden ended up taking the win in the wheelie contest. He wheelied his little sister's 4-wheeler like 1,000 foot or something like that. It was really cool. We had a starting point, and we never designated an ending point, but we did have 3 judges. None of them were me, but we did have 3 judges, and after the scores tallied up, Brody ended up winning, and it was really cool to see that. So
nice.
But yeah, so the wheelie contest was really cool to see during the downtime. The racing we got to do was still pretty cool. And shout out to everybody on those side by sides that came out. They were pretty close to the area. First time coming out. I pulled in, and they got these, big rigs, the RVs with the enclosed trailers and stuff. And I'm thinking like, oh, like Randy Kimberly brought his stuff or something, but no, it was these guys, giant trailers full of side by sides. So it was really cool to see that. Why not? And then really cool thing about Randy Kimberly, he was there, but he brought an empty trailer because he took a car back home with him. He traded a supercharger. He traded a blower for Russ Bailey's bracket car, the buggy, which people know as the Ford because it's a 302 small block Ford and a dune buggy, and turnkey. You get a bracket car for a blower. So that's how that got done. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool to see. But Yeah, that's but other than that, the rain sucked, and I appreciate everybody who stuck it out with us. I know it sucked, especially when you drive so far. The people who drove from Oklahoma, Tennessee, even on the other side of Missouri, and even if you're even just local and you came out and spent the money and time out there. I greatly appreciate everybody that came out and hung out with us. Not the way we wanted it to go, but unfortunately, Thunder Valley Sand Drags season is done. So yeah, that's the end of Thunder Valley Sand Drag season, and looking forward to what those guys got going on next year, and hoping on for some great racing as well. Definitely not the way you went in the season, but we'll talk about the points winners whenever we do our points recap, though, Isaac. So other than that, it was a good weekend. Got to see some good friends. Got some racing done, but all in all, the rain sucks.
It does. And I tell you what, that wasn't the only event that obviously the remnants of the hurricane, or the start of the hurricane as it might have been, affected over the weekend. So glad to see you guys at least got some racing in. And you know what? Let's face it, folks, never too early to start thinking about 2025 because it's going to be here before you know it. So, all right, great coverage, Billy. Thanks for being there. Thanks for sticking it out. And we will move on. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Paddle Talk podcast. We are moving on to our next segment, and that is results from the MRA race down in Cook Station, Missouri, which was held September 20 and 21. Our own Caleb Mings was on site the entire weekend. This was their series finale, no less. So it was a great race. Caleb, you were there the whole time. Let's start off Friday night. So you rolled in. What do you think?
Well, definitely was very cool to be out there. My first MRA event. Been to some more local mud drag stuff, and gotta say, these guys are definitely playing on the next level. Being there for the finals, everybody was just absolutely throwing everything at the wall, seeing what would stick there at the Upper Merrimack Dirt Drags, and getting off. I'll say my initial thoughts is seeing some of these cars on cuts. Man, those things are wild on cuts. The wheel speed is absolutely insane. And we saw the open cuts cars for Friday night, and just those guys are crazy to be running that. I mean, those things are making so much power to even run paddles. They're wild, but you put them on cuts, they're on an ice rink the whole time.
Now, I don't know how much you got to kind of check it out, but what would you, I know when I was there in June, I was trying to come up with what track I would compare it to, the consistency of the material and stuff like that. Your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I think it was kind of a mixture of some of the West Coast stuff, Avenal sand drags. It's a little bit of that, kind of the farm dirt, kind of clumpy, not quite as clumpy as I would say like Thunder Valley is, which is also another track in Missouri, but it's definitely got a little bit more dirt. But here's something interesting, Isaac. That was just for day one. So day two rolls around. They had a little bit of precipitation coming in that evening, and they decided to bring in some extra dirt. So they brought in like this almost kind of red dirt we would see maybe in Georgia area, and they added that to the track Saturday morning. So it was a very different surface for the second day of racing.
Interesting. That's really interesting. Yeah, I would agree. It's a very different surface, but I tell you what, it's got some serious bite to it. So I was really impressed when I was there, and it sounds like you kind of had the same kind of impression. So all right, so let's move on. Friday night. What were they run 3 classes on Friday night, 4 classes on Saturday. What were our 3 Friday night classes?
So the 3 Friday night classes they ran were open cuts, as I said. They ran modified paddles and outlaw pro stock. So I think we should probably start out with the modified paddles class for results there.
I like it. It. All right, let's go.
Love that class, man. Those are big cubic inch nitrous, rails and stuff, 150-inch wheelbase. So they're still a little bit shorter than what we see for a lot of the sand drag stuff. And they definitely got after it very quickly. there on Friday night. First place going to Justin George in the Shoot to Thrill Rail. And man, he put a clinic on that weekend, I would say, in the paddle division for the modified class. Second place went to Jason Maddie in the Outcast. And third place, MRA's own Keith Mitchell in the Magician, which I gotta say, that car, I've seen it online quite a bit, and always loved the way it looked. It looks even cooler in person.
Isn't it amazing to see Keith get in and out of that car? Because Keith is not he's not a big guy, but he's not a small guy either. And when he's in it, it's like, oh man, there's a whole lot of dude in that car.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a little bit of a tight squeeze for him, but man, it's one of those situations where it fits him like a glove. Once he's all nice in the car, good to go.
Jason Massey, another good sized guy too. I mean, he's definitely not small either. So
absolutely. And then let's go over to the open cuts. So open cuts, we saw Kevin Harrison with the Harrison Logging rail, Never Enough, taking first place. He did that over Billy Fling in the Reality Check car, which Billy had a little bit of an incident that evening. He in the shutdown area had a wheel break, front right wheel, and sent him in the hay bales towards the shutdown area. And luckily, not too much extra damage from that to either the car or himself, but that wheel that busted off there, kind of a weird situation with that, and they weren't able to get it repaired. So that was kind of sucky for him. Didn't get a chance to run the car in the paddles class for open paddles the following day. And then third place we saw was Tyler Coolidge in the Nightmare 7 car, which love the paint on that thing. It's definitely got a lot of cool detail work in there.
it is. I tell you what, from them debuting that car in June till now, Tyler has made some huge steps in that car. Shout out to that team. Looking for big things out of them. As the secret's out maybe a little bit, but we can talk about it here. They picked up an Outlaw Pro stock now, and they are moving into a door slammer, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a very different situation for them with that. I mean, it's whole new ball game when you get into those door cars. And speaking of them, let's get into those results for the finals as well for Outlaw Pro stock, which gotta say, kind of my favorite class out there, Isaac. I said it beforehand, and my reaction was the same when seeing those things in person. I mean, they're every bit as bad as all of the top Luminaire and Pro Mod cars that we see, the big full size ones that we see in the sand drag. So super cool to see these things, and again, on cuts, just a wild experience. Will Harrison in the Razor's Edge takes the win, and Isaac, not only does he take the win, he sets a new 200-foot Outlaw Pro Stock record, 2.402. That was what they were able to back up. They actually ran quicker than that, but due to the backup rules, that was the quickest pass that actually got backed up at the end of the night. So big shout out to Will Harrison. We did a little interview with him as well on Saturday, just kind of after everything kind of settled down. He was, definitely still hyped about that. And kudos to the whole Harrison Logging Razor's Edge team.
Absolutely. They were fantastic to talk to and stuff, even when I was there in June. And shout out to those guys, because that truck was a bad hot rod right out of the trailer. The first time anybody really laid eyes on it. Remember the video of it blowing its own doors off literally earlier this summer. And I think everybody knew once they got that truck into a good place, it was going to be tough to beat, and finally putting it all together this fall. So congratulations to them. Who was our runner-up and third place finisher there?
Yeah, so runner-up was Rick George in the Smoke and Gun, and he's going and doing some stuff outside the MRA as well. We've been talking about some of the storylines with that, with the Texas Mud Drag. So pretty cool to see him playing with some people that don't normally play in the MRA. And that's another awesome looking truck as well.
Definitely.
Super, super old school body on that thing. It's like a 1941 or something, very different, very cool looking truck as well. He took second, and then Chris Bonaker in the Havoc truck rounding out the field with third place.
Yeah, I mean, great top three there. And I tell you what, they are all very, very close together as far as time wise goes. And yes, that truck of Rick George's is absolutely beautiful. Shout out to the whole George family and George team, as the stuff, Caleb can attest to it, the stuff they unload out of the trailer is as nice, fit, and finish as anything out there. I mean, it is very impressive to see them show up, and super nice people as well. So shout out to them, and yeah, very impressive group.
Definitely. So like I said, that was all our classes Friday night. Everything loaded up, a little bit of moisture throughout the evening, a little bit in the morning, and then they brought in that red dirt. So a little bit, they mixed it in pretty well, but a very different surface on Saturday, and kick things off with super stock. The big storyline there was the Lambazios were trying to go and make a perfect season. We were trying to figure it out. I never got a definitive answer if it has been done in any of the MRA categories since its inception, but sounds like if it has, nobody remembers how long it's been. So
yeah,
man, they were trying to go through that. Gage was driving the all-in truck, trying to get that perfect season, and unfortunately, he came up the bridesmaid there to Steve Butcher in the Dark Horse truck, taking first place in Super Stock. Once again, that's the MRA's only elimination class, so they actually ran in a full ladder. Gage came up just a little bit short in that final round.
and I tell you what, yeah, that's there was kind of with that class, that super stock class is super tight. I mean, it really, a lot of it came down, at least like when I was there, it came down to reaction time because they were that kind of close together, and you saw guys, hitting the tree, trying to, do something, and because they knew, hey, we're gonna have to be really good on the tree here to get ourselves a chance, because that's probably what's going to decide this race. So, congratulations, though, to Gage on a fantastic season, and Steve Butcher. That's a heck of a ride there too, and great for those guys to get that win at the end of the season. So always kind of makes your the off season a little bit better when the last thing you did was Parker in the winner's circle.
Absolutely, it gives you great momentum going into the following season for 2025 as well. The Lambazios weren't done either, going on to Pro Stock. So now we're in heads-up competition. Reaction time doesn't factor in anymore. And we saw Sam Lambazio actually take third in the all-in 4 truck in the Pro Stock division. Second place went to Randy George in the Thunderstruck truck. That's a cool kind of old school throwback, not quite as vintage as far as the body goes, but as far as a little bit of the stylings and stuff. A little
Very
bit
much
throwback
so.
kind of 90s there. And then Greg Booker taking the win in Pro Stock in the American Outlaw truck.
And that truck is very cool. And I tell you what, watching Booker sometimes will run Pro Stock and Outlaw Pro Stock, even though he does not spray. He runs the same combo, aspirated, motor, like they have to run in Pro Stock. He'll run that in Outlaw Pro Stock, and did fairly well this year, even in the Outlaw Pro Stock class. So it says a lot about that kind of the power that truck's making to be able to run both those classes and still be competitive on both places there. So, and Mr. Greg Booker was the host for this weekend, as that is on the Booker Farms property that the race was held. So congratulations to him.
Absolutely. Great to take it home when it's at your home, right?
Right.
So after the Pro Stock class, we went into the modified cuts. So ran paddles on Friday with a little bit different surface. Cuts went on Saturday, and we saw Keith Mitchell take the win in the Magician. So third place finisher in the paddles division takes the win. Not only does he do that, he sets a new 200-foot mod cuts record. 236.5, Isaac. 236.5.
Wow.
So, man, definitely moving.
Yeah.
In the Magician. Rick George in the Smoking Gun, taking second place there. So brought the, as we were seeing a lot this season, a lot of the Outlaw Pro Stock cars moving into the mod cuts, and having some great success there. So, kudos to Rick and the Smoke and Gun team taking second place there. Third place went to Robert Gallagher in the Outcast.
Yeah, that is Jason Massey's car. So pulling double duty there. And in the interest of fair reporting, Robert Gallagher was the guy at the spring race when I asked him, hey, man, you cut a heck of a light, are you just that? And he full on said, no, man, I just counted to like 2.5 and let go of the button. He said, I figured I'd just let her eat. So shout out to those guys. I mean, I love it when they're just blatantly honest like that. It was great. But that they put up a really a great year, I think, with that Outcast car as well, kind of between Jason and Robert driving. And shout out to them. Obviously, Rick George, that being a new build this year, had a lot of success with it. Really looking forward to seeing what that thing does at Brookville here in a couple of weeks too.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be really exciting. Moving on to our last class on Saturday, the open paddles class, and we saw kind of a cool thing. It worked out very well within both our results here, but also they had a little side bet going on, a $10,000 grudge match between Kevin Harrison and Shane Neegum. Neegum coming all the way from Canada for this event, drove something like 1,900 miles to get to Cook Station, Missouri, and brought a whole team. The Canadian guys were awesome out there, really represented well. They did this deal where they said, hey, we both get a good lick off in the first round. Let's line up again second round and do a little grudge match. And they did this, Isaac, not just best ET. They said whoever gets the finish line first.
Oh,
so reaction time
kind of
included
deal
with that, right? So
yeah.
Some real racing. And Kevin ended up getting the win there for that grudge match. Shane, man, he tried hard, ended up popping a burst panel on that thing during that pass. So he had to turn way up to try to take Kevin's money home, but not quite enough gusto there. And that ends up being the way that the results fall as well. So Kevin in the Never Enough dragster taken first place in the modified paddles over Shane Neegum in the Perfect Storm car. Third place going to Steve Strell in the overdraft machine.
Awesome.
So that's all our results there from the MRA Finals. We will definitely be back because we had a lot of cool storylines as far as the way the point series ended up. I think we're going to do that on another episode because it warrants a little discussion with that on its own.
Absolutely. No, you're 100% right. And I tell you what, great to see some maybe unfamiliar names popping up on this results sheet. I think it speaks to, the MRA as a whole and speaks to, hey, guys wanting to come and run really good series. And for those of you out there looking to run something good, I tell you what, MRA, Texas Mud Drags really seem to have their stuff together, and there's some really good racing to be had out there. So that's going to end this segment on our MRA results from the Cook Station, Missouri MRA Finals. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Paddle Talk podcast. And in this segment, we're going to be talking about the UTV Invasion and America's Oasis in Winoka, Oklahoma. Ooh, that's a mouthful, not going to lie. But a track I have not been to. Caleb Mings, you have also not been to this track. But let's talk about what they've got on the flyer and what's coming up for the UTV Invasion. So things get rolling already on Thursday morning, believe it or not. This is a true 3-day event. Looks like we have some practice they have a down and back, in and out, and sand X. We were kind of doing some off-air guessing, down and back, maybe kind of like a barrel race. I mean, that kind of fits for Oklahoma, right?
Yeah. Not sure what's in and out on the sand cross, sand X, sand cross. I think that's maybe kind of like a short course deal.
I would guess so as well. The in and out part, I got nothing. I mean,
not sure about that in and out.
Unless it's UTV hokey pokey, I'm really lost of what exactly we're talking about there. But somebody please save us from ourselves either message us on Facebook or send us something with some video about what that is. I promise we will figure out a way to include it in a follow-up episode. So just so you
Definitely.
know.
You know, and I've been to similar events to things like UTV Invasion, and you know, it's really cool because they get all these different types of racing events. They've got activities for the kids, group rides, all sorts of different things. It's really just like a big vacation party. You know, tons of people come out to these, and there's things basically for everybody to do. I mean, we listed there 3 different events, and a couple of them we're not really sure what they are, but there's stuff that everybody, you know, you get people from full on, you know, sponsored racers to, you know, Joe Schmo that came out for the weekend and said, yeah, I'm going to go down and I'm going to race the down and back.
No, exactly. And this is only Thursday already. I mean, we're like day one of the event. We're already talking about quite a bit of stuff going. So looks like 5 p.m. they're going to have dinner and games with some local food vendors and activities. And then, like you said, Caleb, 6 p.m. they're going to have a group ride on the dunes, which sounds pretty sweet. And then 8 to 10 p.m., and this is what I would be kind of interested in, side-by-side wars, night drags. Now, in the interest of fairness, it does say helmets required, so I like it. You know, let's make sure everybody's at least somewhat safe, you know, to make this happen. So, and then Friday morning, already 9 a.m., the vendor area opens. So we're on day 2 already, vendor area. And then they've got some test and tune on the drag strip. They've got some more down and back racing. They even have
that's gonna be their actual racing for it. So Thursday's all practice for it. So you get a chance to go out there and try it out. Friday you come back and the down and back race, they're gonna be running it. The side by side wars, all their classes are doing the test and tune. 3 p.m. now. Isaac, how is your cornhole game?
You know what? It is not good enough to compete in something like this. I'll just tell you that.
So WSN team is out for 2025. It sounds like, unless we get some. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Damian or Cody or somebody's like really good with this. I don't know.
We need to hire a ringer to get us through. It's what we need. Anybody out there with a little bit of journalism experience, but a whole lot of cornhole, please feel free to contact us.
So pretty cool with that. And then they're going to be doing the actual in and out races following the cornhole race. And then I'm really stoked about this. So they've got a ATV, ATC, anything 50cc to 125cc. They're doing a little kind of short course rhythm section with all those guys. So little rodeo deal for that. I mean, we've seen those little ATC 70 races all over the country at different events like this. And they all do kind of different courses, but man, people build some wild machines. They've got tons of money invested in those things, all the way down to bone stock ones, and it's a hoot.
Absolutely. You know, those little ATC 70s, I tell you what, there's a whole generation of guys my age that grew up on those things, and not gonna lie, personally, I wouldn't mind having one at some point in time again myself. So even though it's probably not the best idea for me to be riding it around, but yes, very, very popular, very cool to see that, and really interesting to see kind of how that works out. But 6:30, biggest group ride Waynoka has ever seen. That sounds like a huge group ride headed out onto the dunes. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh man, you know what it is? It's like just a swarm of hornets unleashed on the dunes when those night rides get that big. So I don't know what the record was as far as number of cars involved in a group ride at Waynoka, but sounds like the whole America's Oasis facility is gearing up for what should be a record breaker with that. So that's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. That is very cool. And then 9 p.m., night drags on the drag strip. Again, still helmets required. So we like that. More of a test and tune type of thing. But then, like you said, Caleb, stuff for everybody to do. 9:30, kid-friendly movie night. I mean, what's there not to like about that, you know?
No, that's super cool. And it sounds like that, they're doing it pretty close to where the night drags are. So you can maybe have, Dad's out there. He's grudge racing with his buddies. Mom, the kids are hanging back there watching a movie, back and forth between cheering on Dad. I don't know what movie they're playing, but that's going to be pretty cool. Like I said, that's the biggest, draw for these events is just there's so much to do and stuff for everyone.
Absolutely. No, and you're right. I mean, Dad's stopping back every once in a while to check on everything, and Mom can actually pretend like, "Oh, baby, you were so fast." Did you see what's happening on the movie?
Yep. So that's
Oh, man.
gonna wrap up their Friday evening there, and then Saturday they're opening early again for the vendor area. Tons of vendors out there are gonna be selling their stuff. That's gonna be the last day for people to check everything out. That's gonna be available there, and right at the same time, they're actually having the side-by-side wars elimination. So they're doing that 8 till noon at the America's Oasis drag strip, and going to be a lot of fast cars out there. We've seen them, side-by-side wars. They're kind of a new organization offshooting from, previous racing organizations for the side-by-side world. And they've gone to a lot of different facilities. Some not quite with as good of track conditions as they're going to be having for America's Oasis. Not saying anything right now, but America's Oasis, they're in for a treat there. So any of the guys that are making a trip out there for UTV Invasion, they're going to be thrilled to be on a legit track, good prep, water, good timing system. I mean, the whole setup there is top notch for sure.
Very much so. Very much so. Plenty to do, and really a nice facility, very well laid out, and really from primitive camping all the way till they even offer weekend cabin rentals. So, I mean, you really don't have an excuse not to be there, especially if you're in the area.
Definitely. And as we were saying, plenty of more action going on. So after the drags are over, they're doing a wheelie contest. And from experience, those things can get pretty rowdy. So maybe see some tip overs there. We'll see. But that's going to be sponsored by LRC Motorsports out towards the south gate of the facility. So if you're spectating that, make sure you guys are following all the staff's rules as far as where you should be spectating from, because once again, sometimes those cars go for a tumble on those wheelie contests, and you don't want to be in the line of fire.
No.
3 p.m. they're doing the Sandcross race. I think that's right, Sandcross. That's
Yep.
what we were
Let's
thinking.
go with
Short course stuff. So again, more racing action. So if you're not interested in going straight, you're not interested in doing tricks, Sandcross, man, you're trying to go fast. You're turning left. You're turning right, going over jumps, big berms. Those short course races, they're definitely, I think one of the bigger events when I've been to similar UTV kind of centered dune events like this. So that could very well be the biggest participation there that weekend.
Oh, absolutely. I would agree.
Then it looks like when everything kind of wraps up there for the Sandcross, still more stuff going on in the evening. They're going to do a raffle at 6:30, and following the raffle, award ceremony. So you get to hang out with everybody. They'll have all the awards for all the different racing events that they had throughout the weekend. You cheer it on. I don't know if they've got any bonus stuff for people that are trying to do, all the events. Maybe there's some cool bonuses with that. Not for sure on that, but going to be a cool time for everybody to kind of hang out there and kind of relax at the end of the evening. And then looks like they got something else. What's coming up there at 8 p.m.?
Looks like they have a concert. Jay Webb, not familiar, but possibly local artist. So, but really cool. Bringing him in to have a concert in the vendor area. And then 9:30, the last night of the night drag. So you want to get some grudge racing out, maybe from Saturday morning. Here's your shot. You've got night drags going on the end of the night and to wrap up the weekend. So should be a really good time. I tell you what, they've got some impressive sponsors. I see Sand Tires Unlimited on here, JL Audio, even Team Carl Malone Motorsports. I'm guessing it's that Carl Malone. I don't know. It's got a picture of a basketball player on it. Can-Am, I mean, Rugged Radios. There is a bunch of really interesting sponsors on here. Side by Side USA, LRC Motorsports. I mean, so yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a great event. Again, if somebody is there and wants to get us some results from the weekend, and stuff like that, we would love to talk about it again on a future episode. So shout out, and just a reminder, if you're connected there, please let us know. And, maybe if you can get us some pictures and video, that'd be fantastic as well.
Yeah, and I mean it's coming up quick, so probably by the time you're listening to this, you should be maybe there already, if not heading your way out. If we didn't mention that, it's October 3rd through the 5th here, so coming up very quickly here from the time of recording this episode, and we're excited to see. Hopefully, we can get some of those people to send us stuff over.
That's right. Hey, you know what? In a last-minute trip like this, I'm pretty sure you're probably not going to regret it. So. That is, there you go. So if you're looking for something to do on that weekend, there you go. We've given you an option at this point. So family-friendly event. And that is going to wrap up our coverage, our preview of the America's Oasis race in Winoka, Oklahoma.